Hello everyone, for OneWrestling.com, this is Bill Apter and welcome to another special edition of the Apter Chat. And today we go all the way to Chicago, Illinois, from here in Philly. Easy trip, it really is. Colt Cabana, welcome back to the Apter Chat.
Hello, good to see you. Philly and Chicago's not too far. I've done that show.
No. Hey, listen, before we start this, as soon as I put up that we're doing an Apter Chat with Colt Cabana, let's get this out of the way. The first question, everybody's going to say, did you talk to him about Punk? He's Punk's best friend. He's CM Punk's best friend. Let's get it out of the way. What's the story with CM Punk?
Oh, well, I'm not his guy. I'm not his marketing machine. That's for him to discuss whenever he wants to discuss it. And I'll tell you this, he's enjoying some hockey, and he seems rejuvenated and refreshed. So he's in good spirits, and he's enjoying some Chicago hockey. I'll say that. Actually, I'll say he's not enjoying some hockey because they've lost the last couple ones.
Oh, yeah. Well, we're having that problem with the Phillies here as well. So baseball.
I heard Mitch Wild Thing Williams is doing some stupid stuff over there too.
I've heard the same thing too, but
anyway,
when you talk to CM Punk, let him know everybody here at OneWrestling.com, especially wonderful Willie, just wishes he's okay and doing well.
Of course. I know, A, he thinks the world of you.
Well, I appreciate that.
And B, right after our podcast aired, he texted me right away and he said how much he loved hearing you on the podcast.
I want to thank you for that, by the way, because out of all the years I've been doing so much media, one of the best things is, what's that noise in the background?
What's that?
What's that noise in the background?
That's my train going by.
That's the train. What train is that?
That's the blue line on the Chicago L.
Oh, I love it.
For those of you who don't remember, I don't know how, this had to have gone everywhere. It actually skipped the tracks and went into the train station at O'Hare Airport. I don't know if that made news out there.
Yeah, actually, I do believe I saw that.
Yeah, that's this one, right? Coming right now. You can hear it.
Well, don't close the window. Leave it. It's a nice prop. But getting back to what we were talking about, your podcast. Out of all the years I've been doing any type of the electronic media, I have gotten such a huge response. Everybody I meet says, I heard you on Colt Cabana's podcast.
Well, yeah, I mean, you were great. Your stories are great. Your everything about you. I mean, that's why people love you, because
well, thank you.
The history, you've been around it all. It's very cool. It's great to just talk to you.
Well, that's great. And most of them all say the same thing you did back then. They didn't know that I was the guy that put Andy Kaufman and Jerry Lawler together. So I was glad I was able to, that you gave me a forum to bring that out on your great podcast.
Yeah, and like probably, I don't know if you said it years ago, but like, just kind of like everything, there's always a new audience, and even with WWE, it's I hate to say, but I'm on some of these shows, like let's say I'm on shows with Carlito and Chris Masters. Some of these kids, they don't even know who Carlito and Chris Masters is. So
I know that.
You got to refresh them every couple of years, and so it's great that with that story in particular.
Yeah, but I hate sometimes when I have to remind people was Bruno who?
Oh, right. Well, see, isn't that crazy? Like, you never thought that someone would be like, who's Bruno Sammartino? But the reality is that some people just, they don't know. Like, Santino Marella is a big star.
Right. And in the other part of my life, when I'll go to even a 24-year-old person, we're talking about comedy, which you are a master at as well, and I'll mention Jerry Lewis. They'll go like, who? Say, the Nutty Professor. Oh, what did he do in the Eddie Murphy movie?
Yeah, he was.
Whoa. Yeah.
Jerry Lewis and Clark.
It's Lewis and Clark, right. So let's catch up with you. I know this past weekend, depending upon when people are watching this, of course, you just came back from Winnipeg, correct?
Yeah, I found myself in a big Canadian loop. Winnipeg, I was in Toronto a couple weeks ago. I'm going to Vancouver in July. And I'm going to Newfoundland in September. So I've been hitting all the stops in Canada, and the guys I get stopped every time at the border for an incident that happened in Winnipeg. I don't know if you know this, but years ago you weren't allowed to go and wrestle in Canada if you were an American. And so everyone would just have to lie and say they were going to see their friend or whatever. and I got stopped and I got flagged. Now you can be a performing artist and you can enter Canada. Now the Canadians can't enter America, but Americans can go into Canada. But before that rule passed, I was flagged, so I have to stop at immigrations every time.
I never knew that. That's
Yeah,
you just taught me something. I had no idea.
yeah. And you know who changed that law was Vince McMahon.
No, I didn't know that.
Yeah, because he was sick of probably sick of paying the taxes for being an athlete or having to pay or whatever it
Well,
might
they
be.
probably also wondered how many friends does this guy have already.
Yeah, yeah, right.
So,
As I kept on right, the more popular I got, the more places I started going. I started going to Canada a lot more. But
yeah,
luckily, I can be a performing artist, and I can go right into Canada.
that's great. That's great. And you've been to Japan recently. I know we talked about that you bumped into my former photographer Koichi Yashizawa.
Yeah, Yashizawa.
Yoshizawa, yes, Koichi Yoshizawa. So
Uh,
tell us about wrestling over in Japan. Who are you wrestling against these days?
well, the last tour was in April, and yeah, I met your friend, and he said he goes, I am the Bill Apter of Japan. That's what he said. He goes, I'm Japanese Bill Apter. That's how you will remember me.
Wow,
I Facebooked you right away, and I said I
you
met Jeff.
did, you did.
And I go over for Pro Wrestling Noah, and the last one we did, I was in the global tag tournament, and myself and Chris Hero were tag team partners, and we wrestled against a lot of the top guys in Japan, Kenta, Marufuji, and then I think the coolest one was Masato Tanaka from ECW was in the tournament also. So that
Yeah,
was
yeah, yeah.
my very first tour of Japan. In 2006, I wrestled my very first match. I wrestled in a tag match against Masato Tanaka. So it was kind of cool, like 8 years later, to go back and wrestle him in Japan.
What is the whole fan feeling there in Japan? Because Japan, for years and years and years, had these rabid but silent fans. Of course, is the buzz still there?
Well, sometimes I think a wrestling fan's a wrestling fan's a wrestling fan.
Yeah,
So the goal is to go out, and you know this. My goal is to go out, entertain, make them smile, make them laugh, make them happy, make them react. So that's my main goal, and I try to treat them just as I do the American fans, or the European fans, or the Australian fans. And it's something extra special because I don't speak Japanese. So when I can go to Japan and not speak the language and still have a connection,
oh, that's great.
like
That's great.
especially the comedy where I can make them laugh. It's like I don't even know your language, but I can go out and I can make you laugh. It really like says to me like I know what I'm doing as a pro wrestler. I think it's really cool.
Yeah, that's so special. Is there? You've been up and down the roads of the world. Is there any place you haven't been to wrestle that you still have on your list?
Yeah, there's a couple. I haven't been to Italy,
Really? Okay.
and I haven't been to Sweden. I'd like to go to Sweden.
There's actually the train's leaving right now. So
Told me not to close it. You thought it was going to get
no,
one.
no, that's fine. That's fine. So that's interesting. So those are two places. So if any promoters in Italy or Sweden are watching, where can they get in touch with you?
ColtWrestling@gmail.com or ColtCabana.com. I'll tell you what. I don't know if this thing is really happening in Korea, the Inoki,
Oh yeah.
uh, but I don't know how to throw my name in that hat, but I would love to do that. I think that's the coolest.
Yeah, yeah, that's getting quite a lot of talk. A lot of people are thumbs up for that, and a lot of people are looking at it in a bad light as well.
Why is that?
Yeah, I don't know. I read people right away. They were just talking about how could he try and promote a show there, and I'm not really sure why people are knocking that.
Well, I mean, I guess people were knocking the Dennis Rodman stuff too. So
Yeah, exactly, exactly.
sadly, sometimes pro wrestling is seen in the same circus show as a Dennis Rodman basketball game. So
No. Now, one of the other things I wanted to discuss with you, you and I talked about 2 weeks ago on the phone, and you told me a story about when I was working from home and once a month going to the offices of Wow Magazine in Chicago. And you told me a story about you wanting to work at Wow Magazine, which I thought was a great story that you got to let everybody know about now.
Yeah, well, the magazine was in Bannockburn, which is right next to my hometown of Deerfield, Illinois.
Yeah.
And you got to understand, as a wrestling fan, as a wrestling nerd, my whole life, reading your magazines, reading your articles, and everything, there was never anything in the northwest suburbs of Chicago about wrestling. Like, no wrestling lived up there. There wasn't any shows. It was like too nice of an area to put on indie shows, you know. And so I got into wrestling in 1999, and I heard, and I was in college, and I needed an intern. And I heard the wrestling magazine was basically in my home, and it was like perfect. I needed an internship, and I in wrestling, and I had a friend who worked. I can't remember her name. I know her name, but I can't remember her friend's name who worked at the magazine.
Right.
They were unable to like make it happen.
Wow.
Sadly.
Wow.
But I was trying my best to get there and get the offices. I could have been friends with you a lot earlier. That would have been amazing.
Well, you could have saved the magazine. You know, you never know. It could have become Colt Cabana's Wow Magazine.
Isn't that what was the downfall of the Wow Magazine?
It's a long story. There are a lot of legal things that went on that I really can't discuss, unfortunately. But but I wish it was still around. It was one of my favorite magazines.
It was big, it was squat, it had all these great pictures.
Oh yeah, yeah.
For specific people in that like time era. It wasn't that long, but it was a great memory. It's a great foot feel in wrestling.
I can't tell you how many guys in every major federation were calling me, how do I get on the cover of Wow Magazine? That because the circulation of that magazine was incredible. It was everywhere.
Yeah, I think I had a picture towards the end, and I was pretty proud of that.
That's great. That's great. That's great. So tell us what else you have going on, Colt.
I'm here to promote my brand new documentary. And if we can see that.
The Wrestling Road Diaries, yes, yes.
It's the second one, and you can see in here Cliff Comp, Luke Gallows, and myself, and a lot of people.
The newly married Luke Gallows, by the way.
I did go to his wedding.
Yes.
Remember the first one. Now this one's still available. Of course, this was the documentary where this guy right here, the world champion, we documented before he got signed to the WWE, and this was
yes.
So it's about the life of an independent wrestler, the roads, and we take you into our lives, and we take you into the locker rooms and the road trips, and this one was a big success, still available. So this is the second one, and this is more about, hey, you're not in the WWE anymore. What's life for you now that you're not in the giant arenas and the giant towns and making the big bucks? And so it's very interesting, and that's kind of what I'm doing.
So where can people find this?
My merchandise website is coltmerch.com, but you can always just wrestlingroaddiaries.com. That's available there, and I welcome you guys. There's a bunch of stuff on my YouTube channel if you want to see some trailers and teasers.
Oh, tell them about your Monday night show.
YouTube show Monday night called Worst Promo Ever.
Yeah, it is. It's a great show. It's a great shtick.
Yes, and it is. It's Marty DeRosa is a Chicago comedian, and basically we do a bunch of improv every single week, and then we'll edit it up and chop it up to like 1 or 2 minutes kind of skits, and we put that out every single Monday night. It's a fun way to kind of stay relevant and kind of stay in people's minds.
Yeah, there are a lot of wrestlers these days doing stand-up. I mean, Mick Foley is as busy as he was in his prime during the wrestling days doing comedy now.
Yeah, well, a lot of people. It's important to kind of get into different ventures. Of course, for all the fans in Scotland, I'm doing 25 straight nights of comedy in Edinburgh this summer, just like I did last summer.
That's right. That's right.
But anyone out there in Edinburgh or anyone in Europe, they want to come to the Edinburgh Fringe show. Myself and Brendan Burns, we're doing commentary to Bad Wrestling every single night at 10 o'clock at the Edinburgh Fringe Festival.
That's great. Do you write a lot of your own material? Well, you do, actually. I know that.
Yeah. I mean,
Yeah, yeah.
I'm always writing. I'm always thinking. I'm always creating.
Who were
Uh,
your comedians when you were growing up? Who were your inspirations for wanting to be like in comedy?
I mean, it's funny because it's both wrestling and comedy.
Yeah, I
So
know that.
guys like Junkyard Dog and Boogie Woogie Man, and and even like an Adrian Street. Like there's just the craziness of these guys were very inspiring. I was a big SNL guy too,
That's
and
what I want to know.
of course, and In Living Color and Kids in the Hall, the State. A lot of these things kind of formed my style of comedy. Of
Was
course,
there
now
one guy you would have paid $150 to go see in person?
Bill, I am a Jewish man. I wouldn't pay $150 to see anybody in
That's right. Neither
person.
would I. You and I would have to split it, actually.
I'll give you that. You tell me what happened.
You got it. No, I was wondering, is there one comedian that you honed in on when you were growing up that you would have just run to see wherever he was?
I mean, Chris Farley was great,
Yeah.
and just a lot of those SNL guys. Of course, I think did a lot of great things for the younger generation. But also, there's a lot of guys nowadays who I'm very inspired by, just as much as inspired as a kid. Dimitri Martin, Kyle Kinane, Anthony Jeselnik, of course, is
Yeah.
great.
Yeah.
Aaron, I mean, there's a whole list of people that I really enjoy.
All right. So before we go, if you got a call tomorrow, WWE, we want you to come in. Who are the who's the main guy that you would like to see yourself on the other side of the ring against, and why?
Oh, I don't know. Well, listen, if we're just playing fantasy wrestling Booker, man, I think a lot of people would like to see myself and Santino Marella.
Oh
Uh,
yeah.
see myself and Santino Marella. I don't even know if it's against maybe a tag team or maybe just a bunch of buffoons together having fun, making some money. Because I'm a big believer that funny equals money, and I'm going to take that to the bank. So
I like that. Funny equals money. Yeah. Yeah. The also let's talk about. Are you still appearing at the Insane Clown Posse shows?
yeah, I'm going to the Gathering of the Juggalos this year
Yes.
in
Yes.
Columbus, Ohio, and I'll be there July 26th and 27th. And I just went.
2014, by the way. If you're watching this in 2016.
Yes. Um, I went to the last three. I missed last year, but I went to the previous 3 years before. I had to miss last year because I went to Edinburgh to the Fringe
Yeah.
Festival.
Yeah.
Great,
I
you
saw
know.
you at one of the gatherings. You did a double take when you saw that I was there. Like, oh my God, what is he doing here? They made me a juggalo. I love those guys. They're terrific.
Hey,
Huh?
they're great. The fans are great too.
Oh yes, yes, very much so.
Everything. It's such a wonderful experience. Those guys are so positive. Anyone who hates on them has to reevaluate themselves and their realization of positivity because those guys are just they're happy to like what they like. If you like what you like, that's all that matters. And they spread the word about what they like. And I invite you people out there not to spread the word on what you hate, but spread the word on what you like.
Yeah,
So
that's great.
there in the after chat, tell everybody about that. If you like the Wrestling Road Diaries, let them know. And I think ICP that's like their motto, and I think it's great.
So before we let you go, last question here. I always like to throw in some sort of an unusual question. Tell us something that we don't know about you.
But you don't know about me.
That we don't know about you that everybody will go like, really?
Um, well, let's see. A lot of people don't know. I'll give you two things. One thing people might know that I used my bar mitzvah money to train as a pro wrestler.
I don't know if I knew that.
So that's where my wrestling training my money came from was my bar mitzvah.
Wow. Wow.
So I so
Oh, you
so
said that you had a second one though.
so
Oh, you sew.
yeah.
Your
I
voice
sew.
dropped out. I couldn't hear you there. That's great. What do you sew?
I mean, I learned to sew. I sew. I make some of my wrestling gear. I make the headbands that I sell. I make the headbands that I wear. And anytime I need to adjust anything on a T-shirt or anything or whatever it might be, need to hem something or whatever, or change the inseam, I could sew it myself. So
That's great. That's great. Unbelievable. Colt Cabana. I sew.
I sew.
I sew. I sew. So thank you so much for being here on the After Chat. Once again, tell people where they can catch up with you on all social media.
Yeah, I am on Twitter and Instagram. Just join Instagram at Colt Cabana. These are my movies. I'm very proud of them. WrestlingRoadDiaries.com and ColtMerch.com. Also, my podcast is The Art of Wrestling. It comes out every Thursday on iTunes and ColtCabana.com. And I have a million other plugs, but if you go to ColtCabana.com or follow me on Twitter, you'll see.
They're all there. So as I always ask everybody, take your index finger, point it right into the camera. For Bill Apter and Colt Cabana and the After Chat, we'll see you at the match.